This is Shivani auntie here from the study school, and I've got a very special story for you today called Pinocchio. Do you know the story of Pinocchio? It's about a little boy and his papa, Geppetto. Well, let us begin with seeing a photograph of Geppetto. What did Geppetto do? He was a toy maker, and Pinocchio was not really a boy at all. He was a toy. Yes. So Geppetto was a poor toy maker who had a very dear wish. He always wanted to have a son. Do your mama papa want to have you? Are they happy to have you? They love you so much? Well, Geppetto didn't have any babies. He really wanted a son. So one day, as he sat making a wooden puppet, it seemed to look at him and to smile. So the puppet smiled at him, and Geppetto thought, how I wish I could look upon the face of my son. Yes? Did Geppetto look at this toy like it was just a toy? He looked at it and he said, I wish I could look at the face of my son just like I'm looking at the face of this toy. I would call him Pinocchio. Pinocchio. So Geppetto had decided if he had a son, he would call him Pinocchio. Just then, the blue fairy heard what Geppetto was saying. Look at her, she's so pretty, and she's wearing a blue dress. He deserves to have a son. Pinocchio shall be the son to Geppetto. And as Pinocchio's eyes opened wide, so there came a chirping noise. And out came Jimmy Cricket. Who was Jimmy Cricket? Look at him. You know what a cricket does? Can you hear the quail bird doing coo, coo? Well, the cricket does krr, krr, krr. And in a little while from now, when the sun goes down and it's dark, when I come out here in the garden, I'll be able to hear the cricket going krr, krr, krr. Will it be Jimmy Cricket? Jimmy Cricket was there for Pinocchio, to tell Pinocchio whether he was doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So he was what we humans have inside us, because we know ourselves what's right and wrong. It's called a conscience. So Jimmy Cricket was Pinocchio's conscience. He was going to tell Pinocchio, this is a good idea and that's a bad idea. Geppetto was overjoyed to have a son at last. You must go to school, he said to Pinocchio, because he did not want Pinocchio to be a donkey. And Jimmy Cricket said, if you don't go to school, then you could become a donkey. Yes, not very clever. And young children should be very clever and they should go to school. So Geppetto sold his only jacket. He had only one jacket. How many clothes do you have? Geppetto had just one jacket. And he sold it. And with the money he got, he bought a spelling book for Pinocchio, because Pinocchio had to go to school and he had to have the spelling book. So Geppetto bought the book and sent him, and Pinocchio said, goodbye, father, and off he went to school. But that was before Pinocchio knew Fire Eater's Puppet Theatre was in town. Look at this man. He had a puppet theatre in town, and they were eating fire, and they were dancing and singing. So Pinocchio sold the book which Geppetto had bought for him, and he bought a ticket to go for the theatre, so he could sing and dance and have a good time. Now Fire Eater wanted Pinocchio to stay, but when the time came to move away from home and from Geppetto, he was afraid. Being a wonderful singing, dancing puppet didn't seem so clever after all. Pinocchio wanted to be with his papa. He didn't want to leave with the theatre company and go off with the Fire Eater puppet. He wanted to stay with his papa. He thought, Geppetto sold his only jacket. He had just one jacket and he sold it so that he could send me to school. He'll wonder where I am. So, luckily for Pinocchio, Fire Eater knew Geppetto, and he gave Pinocchio 5 gold coins to take to Geppetto. He gave Pinocchio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gold coins to take home to his papa, Geppetto. But I can buy Geppetto a new jacket, thought Pinocchio. 5 gold pieces. Is that all? Scoffed the cat. Look at that wicked cat. That naughty cat. What did she say? Only 5 gold pieces? And then the fox said, bury them in our magic field. Look at this fox. If you bury money, do you grow a money tree? No. Were the cat and the fox friends of Pinocchio? No. They were trying to cheat him. And Pinocchio listened to them. No, Pinocchio, said Jimmy Cricket. You know, Jimmy Cricket was his conscience and very clever. So Jimmy Cricket told him, don't give them the money. Don't bury the money, the gold pieces. Don't do that. Oh, how Pinocchio wished he had listened to Jimmy when he discovered that the crafty cat and the sly fox had dug up the gold just as he had buried it. The fairy heard Pinocchio crying and asked him, what's wrong? So the fairy came, you know the blue fairy? The blue fairy came and she asked Pinocchio, why are you crying? What's wrong? I dropped the gold I was taking home to Geppetto. Did he drop the gold? No, he had buried it. Was he telling the truth? No. Look here, look at Pinocchio's nose here. It's just like your nose. It's a nice nose on his face, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 lip. But now look what happened to it. It became really funny and long. Why did his nose become long? Because when you lie, your nose becomes long. I dropped the gold I was taking home to Geppetto. I was taking it and now I can't find it. And as he spoke, something very strange happened. Look at his nose. Look at that nose. It grew so long. Imagine how uncomfortable it must be to have such a long nose. Pinocchio's nose began to grow. Where do you think you lost the money? Asked the fairy. On the way to school, he cried. His nose grew even longer. It must have fallen out of my pocket and it grew even longer. By now his nose was so long, he could hardly see the end of it at all. Well, Pinocchio, laughed the blue fairy, now you know how one small lie can grow into a big lie, just like your nose. So the blue fairy said to Pinocchio, you mustn't lie because then your nose becomes so long. One lie makes big lies and then strange things happen. At once Pinocchio promised not to tell any more lies, sobbing so hard that the fairy took pity on him. If you had listened to Jimmy Cricket, she said, none of this would have happened. Pinocchio knew this was true, and full of good intentions, he set off home. He had only gone a little way when a carriage full of children with strange donkeys pulling the carriage came by. Jimmy Cricket said to him, don't go with the children. But Pinocchio couldn't help himself. Come to the land of toys, said the children. Play all the year round. Don't listen to them, warned Jimmy Cricket. But Pinocchio was already joining up, determined not to miss any of the fun. Look at the carriage full of children and Pinocchio jumping into the carriage and getting set to go and play in the land of toys. He thought the land of toys was wonderful. No books, no lessons, just as much play as anyone wanted. But after a while, he noticed his ears felt rather heavy and thick and furry. Look at that! Look what happened to his ear. It became long and thick and furry. Oh my goodness! I said that you'd turn into a donkey if you didn't go to school. scolded Jimmy Cricket. "What will you do now?" So Jimmy Cricket had told him, "If you don't go to school, you're going to become a donkey." And what happened? Pinocchio didn't go to school. He went to play with the children in the land of toys, and soon he had a long, heavy, furry ear like a donkey. "Geppetto!" cried Pinocchio. "I want to go home to Geppetto." Pinocchio was afraid everyone would laugh at his donkey ears. But the people were too upset to even notice. "Geppetto went to sea looking for you." You know the sea with lots of water, and the sea goes on to become the ocean with even more water. And there in the ocean there are fish. And then among the fish there are big fish, and the big fish are called whales. And the whales are so huge, they're bigger than people, they're bigger than elephants. Pinocchio was afraid everyone would laugh at his donkey ear, but people were too upset to even notice. "Geppetto went to sea looking for you," they said. "We think he was swallowed by a whale." "Poor father!" cried Pinocchio. "I must find him." He made his way to the place where Geppetto was last seen and jumped into the inky blackness of the sea. Was the sea dark, like blue and black? And he jumped into the sea. Pinocchio jumped into the sea to find his papa. But where was his papa? Where was Geppetto? There was gusts of wind blowing. Suddenly he saw a light ahead. He swam towards it. Do you know how to swim? You swim, and you swim in the water. So Pinocchio was swimming, and he was going towards the light. And what did he find there? Oh, suddenly he was inside the whale's mouth. And inside the whale's mouth he found Geppetto, his papa. "Pinocchio!" cried a voice. "Pinocchio, my dear, brave son!" Pinocchio had never been so glad to see anyone, even if he had swum inside a whale by mistake. "We'll get through this whale's mouth and then make for shore," he told Geppetto. "Just follow me." So Pinocchio said, "I will swim out of the whale's mouth, and Geppetto, you follow me, and we'll get home. And we'll get home." And Pinocchio swam so much that he got tired, and he got more tired, and finally he was so tired. But look at what happened. They came out of the whale's mouth and they reached home. Jimmy Cricket guided him to dry land, and Geppetto brought him out of the water and carried him home. The blue fairy was waiting for them. "Well done, Pinocchio," she said. "You have shown that you are a brave and loving son. You shall have your reward." And instead of a wooden puppet, Pinocchio became a real boy with a beaming smile for Geppetto, his papa, and a conscience of his own to tell him right from wrong. How happy Jimmy Cricket was for both his friends, Geppetto and Pinocchio. Did you like the story of Pinocchio? Well, I think after hearing the story of Pinocchio, I know I'm not going to lie to anyone because I don't want a nose that's so long. I want to have a nose that's just right. Not too big, not too small, just perfect. We should be happy with what we have. And Pinocchio wasn't even a real boy, but he was so brave and so good that the blue fairy made him into a real boy so that he could be the real son of Geppetto for the rest of his life. And Geppetto the papa and Pinocchio the son lived happily ever after. This is Shivani Auntie telling the story especially for my beloved study school children. See you soon with more stories.